get asked a lot of questions about how do you assess an arts integration lesson or assess the arts themselves. I have an administration degree as well as a music degree, so I have an understanding of both, and I specifically get asked a lot by administrators and leaders on how they can assess and truly understand how the arts are going in their building and how an arts integration lesson is going. And they're two separate things, but a lot of times the assessment pieces overlap. So the key thing to understanding about assessing any art form, whether it's an arts integration lesson or an arts lesson, is to understand that assessment is not the same as evaluation. Evaluation means you're making a judgment. You are making a decision about whether or not something lives up to the standard that you have set up to a 100%. And the arts can't be evaluated. Everybody has their own personal judgments, and I think that's where a lot of people get hung up, especially when we're looking at evaluating teachers and evaluating arts lessons. How can you make a decision about whether something is 100% when it's creative? What you have to understand about the arts is that you can assess them and you can evaluate them, but they are not the same thing. Assessment means that you're checking in to see how the process is going and whether the student or the teacher understands the process. That's an assessment. It is not a judgment. It's just a kind of checkpoint of how things are going and looking at the process itself. An evaluation is good for the product. So you have to figure out, are you looking for the product or are you looking for the process? If you're looking for the process, what you're really going for is a formative assessment. Now, I talk to a lot of administrators and a lot of teachers throughout the year, and most of them tell me that they do summative assessments. They finish a unit and they give a test and they see whether or not the students pass or fail the test and how well they do to have an understanding on whether they got the concept. That's a summative assessment. That's great for overall knowledge, but you're not checking in to see if a student truly understands the information. You're not checking the process at all. You're just kind of throwing everything out there and then saying, here, let's see what you do and hope for the best. And at a recent conference that I was just at, one of the keynote speakers said a great thing. He said, hope is not a strategy. You can't hope that they're going to do great on a test. You have to be checking with them throughout the unit, throughout the process. Are they understanding the information? It's like benchmarks. Benchmarks are similar to a formative assessment. They are a little bit summative at the same time, but you're checking on the progress so that by the time you get to the summative assessment, you should know how your kids are doing. So in the arts, using formative assessments are a great tool to see if they're understanding the process, since the arts are a process. There's a couple of ways you can do that. You can do it through Show Your Work. You can do it through projects like paintings, sculptures, videos, choreography that students can come up with, creating a play, writing in an artistic journal. They could do a Prezi presentation. You can bring in technology and have them tweet. 140 characters is pretty hard to write what you want in 140 characters, but it takes a lot of creativity to get your point across in that short period of time and characters. So tweets are great for that. Blogging is another great tool, a formative assessment that you can use. There are reviews, poems. There's a lot of ways that you can provide an assessment that doesn't have to be a paper and pencil assessment, and you can still see, all right, is this working? The other thing that you want to check on is creating rubrics. Rubrics are great as a formative assessment tool. And it can be student-created rubrics or a teacher-created rubrics. The important part is to make them very clear, to have very clear expectations under each level of the rubric so that students can simply check off, did I do this, did I do this, did I do this? And then you're creating your own kind of self-assessment. And those are the most powerful research-based assessments that there are self-assessments. So assessing the arts is not something to be scared of. It's not something to worry about. You just need to understand a couple of the tools. If you take a look at the image that is coming up on the screen, it'll show you the arts assessment toolbox that I've adapted from one that was shown to us at the Maryland Artist Teacher Institute by Maria Barbosa. It is a fantastic tool, and it's available on educationcloset.com. If you just go there, you'll find it under the Resources tab. So I hope that this takes away some of the scariness of assessing the arts and answers some of your questions. If you'd like to learn more, please visit us at www.educationcloset.com.